Hello to my friends, the internet. It has been a very, very long time, almost 4 months, actually a little bit over 4 months since I last did a live stream. So there's multiple reasons for that, and I'll get into it right away. Basically, it is extremely busy when you have 2 children and 2 jobs. So as some of you know, back in August, we had another. And I tried to keep it together, but it has been quite exhausting. And on top of that, I have been working a second job, mostly overnights, sometimes the evening. So it's about maybe 10 shifts in 7 days. And I've been doing that straight. Been doing that since basically, I don't know, November-ish. So all through December, I tried to throw in a couple streams there. And right up until now, actually last night I worked an overnight and I rolled right into my day job. So yeah, it's been pretty busy, and I have been thinking about all this and the setup, and I'm still trying to get my channel back on board. I've edited a couple of things and I've resubmitted my channel for monetization. So hopefully YouTube gets back to me and it's some good news. But even if it's not, I don't really mind. We'll figure it out. I think the only option is if I delete pretty much the majority of the content that I have focusing on live music. So I have pulled a couple of things. I've saved them to a hard drive. I think I'm going to, originally I was going to start a secondary channel and do some PSO streams and some Dreamcast streams and things of that nature. But that means I would have to probably start from the beginning again and have to build up another audience. Maybe some people would follow along from this channel and go over there, but it would take a long time. But then I was thinking, like, the majority of the content I've been doing in the last, I don't know, maybe 2 or 3 years has been a lot of live streaming, and I really enjoy it. There's a couple of other projects that I've been thinking about that I'm going to try and get off the ground, and it makes more sense, since I really don't go to a lot of concerts nowadays, to maybe remove some of that earlier stuff and re-upload it to another channel. What that means is, for me anyways, it's a little bit disappointing because some of that stuff has been up for a very long time, like 10, 11 years. It's been a really long time since I've had this YouTube channel. So it's a little bit disappointing that it becomes, I'll delete it and it's no longer part of the public record, but I will resubmit it. It won't get the views, it won't have the chronology or anything like that, but you know, it'll be up there. I do really enjoy this channel, so I really kind of want to keep it going. Things hopefully will be slowing down for me very shortly. It looks like the family's starting to settle a bit. That was a big part of the problem, to be honest. It would be like I couldn't get more than like 20 minutes at a time of just kind of focusing on things, just getting pulled in every direction and just kind of passing out from exhaustion. So even though you're a little bit tired, it's I don't know, a different kind of tired. Your brain kind of does weird things when you start reproducing. So anyways, long story short, been too busy, been too tired, haven't been live streaming, been thinking about playing some games, haven't got around to it, realized we're in April now, and yeah, maybe I should do something, because I've been talking about the DC HDMI for quite some time now, and I really want to get it, but if I'm not really playing the machine and the setup I have now is doing quite well, I don't really see the point in getting it. But I think I'll have some conversation with the guy who's making it and see when the next batch is coming out, see how long he plans on staying in the game, and maybe I'll try and do the next round. So before we get started, I always talk about thrift pickups and all that fun stuff. There have been a lot. I've really been keeping up with that on the side. Haven't really posted too much, but have acquired a lot of interesting things. I'll tell a story a little bit later about some things that I missed, unfortunately, that really tick me off. Some of the stuff that was really, really cool that I didn't need, that would be really interesting to show off, I've actually gotten rid of already. It was pretty easy to get rid of. Some things like a boxed Power Rangers Ninja Zord, like full figure thing. That was pretty neat. Don't really care about Power Rangers that much. And I was able to get a couple bucks back for it and sort of roll it back into some more thrifting options. What are some other things that I can think of recently that I got that I ended up trading out? Just a lot of knick-knacky things that I'm really not interested in. Some gaming stuff, but not really too much. I had a complete copy of Obscure, threw that on eBay. It lasted about 5 minutes, went for 120 bucks. I was quite satisfied with that. Generally, the complete copies go for about 200, but I was quite satisfied with 120. And yeah, just a couple of other odds and ends that aren't coming to mind. But I do have a pile of things that I wouldn't mind showing off. Maybe before we get started, I'll just show you a couple of little tidbits, little teasers. So I talk about toys, I don't collect them. This is true, but I thought maybe I'd hold on to a few things because they're kind of neat, even though I can get a couple bucks for them, and maybe the little kiddos will like playing with them too. So first thing, found a mostly complete Ecto 1. So that's kind of neat if you're a real Ghostbusters fan. Also got this, don't need it, kind of have it posted right now, but I think I'll just give it to family. And that's like a boxed blue snowball. Got this for $4.99 at a Salvation Army, so no tax. That was a pretty decent little find. Again, I don't need it. It still works perfectly fine. The blue snowball was the standard for quite some time, but you know, USB mics have improved since then. Not by a whole lot. Like, this will work perfectly for most people's purposes, but you know, I don't need it. I don't need another microphone right now. Also managed to find a hard copy of Legend of Zelda Hyrule Historia. So this was kind of neat because there's a couple of volumes to this, and this one I was particularly interested in because it shows you the games in chronology and shows you how they fit into the overall storyline and that they're all connected. So I was pretty happy to find this. Again, only a couple of dollars. And this one here, before we get into the gaming portion of tonight, some of you might care about, some might not. Lately I've been really obsessed with vintage hi-fi, so I've been putting together a pretty decent system. And you know, I got a Marantz 2230B receiver. I got that for pretty cheap. Got a Rega Planet CD player, which sounds amazing. I have my Sony PT15 record player, which is amazing. I've got a whole box of different cartridges now, and I found these speakers for 10 bucks. I was really happy. Really complements the set, and that's a set of Advent 3 loudspeakers. So this is just the one. I'm not going to show you both, but got these for 10 bucks, no tax. I was pretty happy with that. So anyways, that's just a short tidbit. There's piles of stuff over here and over here. We'll get to them, but you know what? Let's just get into some gaming. I put a shout out in the Facebook group. Hopefully we'll hear back from a few people in a bit. Let's just go right to the main screen and see what happens. Okay, what's going on in the chat? Hello, everybody. Wow, we got a few people that jumped on already. Hey, guys, nice seeing y'all. Yes, I am finally back-ish. We'll see how long it lasts. All right, well, Mr. How do you pronounce your name? Genocide 91. All right, cool. Well, if you're on, let's start a game. So I think what I'm gonna do is, because I was having some problems with the game crashing recently when I was flipping between the patcher and the actual disc image. So I think I'm gonna jump right into Eve's, even though we've heard before that that's going to make the game more difficult, and see if it's a little bit more stable. So the last couple of games I played, unfortunately, they were crashing about an hour in. That was getting pretty frustrating. The thing about knowing the game is going to crash is you become much less invested in the game because you're going to lose your stats, you're going to lose all your meseta, and you're going to lose all of your items. Really, the only thing you can do at that point is go back to a previous save, and it just means a whole lot of time lost. So because of that, I'd rather play a much more stable image, so we'll see how this goes. I imagine it'll be okay. We have heard from a couple of people that the Eve's image is a bit more difficult. So that being said, we might kind of be back to where we were before, where we weren't really hitting for what we wanted. Again, I probably should switch up my weapon a little more as well. I tend to stick to the same weapon, and I know that's a big no-no. Same thing with the same armor. Haven't really inspected my bank to see what I have there, and quite frankly, I've actually forgotten. It's been such a long time, I don't even know what I have in there anymore. But let's take a look. Okay, so select ships. Let's see what we got here. Anybody on Isilia? No. Okay, not a problem. How about Vega? Okay, we got one person. Altamira, 4 users. Palm Costa we never have, so let's go to Altamira, see if we've got any familiar faces on board tonight. Again, it is an off night, so we might not find anybody. Oh, there's an E-stick. Nice. Frantic Fauna is on. Cool. All right. So let's go say hello to our friends. Hey all. What's happening? Cool. So we've got 4 people. We got Ads at level 27, KB at 132, Pedro Norte at 1. I wonder if that's the Pedro that we knew, and M&M's at 1. We're doing stage 9, but got disconnected. Ouch. Is the server having issues tonight? Now that does happen from time to time. We do have a couple of issues with the server where it's known to crash. Okay, cool. I'm using Eve's PSO2 image right now, testing to see if it's more stable with the USB GD ROM. I was getting a lot of DCs when swapping between the patcher and the disk image. So a couple of streams you might have noticed in the past little while have only been lasting about an hour, and that's because you get into it and then the game crashes for no real reason. So that's been a little bit frustrating. Okay, so what would everyone like to play? Looks like we have a mixed bag of levels tonight. Okay, who was that? Let's take a look. So if that is Pedro, we also know that Pedro has a number of other characters. Okay, that is Zanahoria. Not familiar with that person, but hopefully they'll introduce ourselves. Okay, free run. Okay. Since the net isn't stable. His net isn't stable. Okay. Who is starting a team? And we will just jump on board. Alright, so it looks like KB might... Alright guys, for some reason I said okay, and that meant my Pixel 2 XL decided to use the OK Google feature. Alright. I guess you guys can't hear that in the back. I have too many smart speakers in this house. Give me 1 second. Okay, Google, stop casting. There we go. Okay, so we've got to be very aware of our words tonight. Okay, red daggers. Alright. So, who is starting us off? I'm going to tag along. Okay, well, I'll join whatever team is up. And it looks like we might get Zanahoria as well. Alright, so do we have a team? Let's take a look. Organize team, join team. No, there are no current teams. Okay, not a problem. So we've got 3 people over level 80, which ideally would mean... Oh, hey, look at that. We've got 4 levels that can do very hard. Cool. 4 over 80 is always fun. Actually, you know what? Let's just see who's actually starting a team. So I'm not sure, because ads is here first, so I wouldn't want to kind of deny them the ability to jump into a team, but okay, organize team, join team. Can't join, players bursting, no problem. All right, well, let's try that again. Join team. Here we go. All right, let's see what this team is all about. And here we are, home sweet home. Pioneer 2. Now, do I have... Zanahoria is joining the game. Please wait for a while. All right, sweet. I was a little bit nervous there for a while that the game was going to crash, but it looks like we're going along fine. It's just waiting for these people to burst. And sweet. Okay, now I can't remember the last time we played if I put my mag in the bank. So let's see what we got here right now. No item. Okay, so I must have put my mag in the bank, which is a great idea because then it preserved the sink, I think. Take item. Dun, 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 dun. Meg, choo-choo Dreamcast. Here we go. Yes. Boom. Boom, boom. And let's use our mag. Equip. Perfect. Okay, so... Hey, cool. So it is currently... It did preserve the sink. Nice. Alright, so... The last time I checked, it really likes the Tri-Mates. Let's see if we got full... Inventory is full. No problem. Alright, well, let's use some. Gotta give it a couple minutes. Let's find our team in the interim. There's one player. Okay, cool. So there we are. We've got everybody here. They're all making bank runs. Let's see if we're going back to the guild counter to start a quest or if we're still doing the free run. It appears as though we are doing the... No, we're not doing a free run. Still doing a free run. I do not see anybody's life bar decreasing, so I assume that means that we're not just in game currently. And we lost somebody. Well, that's too bad. Alright, well, we'll keep it open. Alright. Cool. Who does? Ah, is that what happened? That's too bad. Okay, well, I guess we'll just keep doing the free run and see if we can get this person to stabilize. Okay, we can't quite give an item yet. You are vanilla or EP UGB? Eves PSO V2. Okay, oh shoot, I don't even know if we're going to the forest. I probably should have asked. Damn. Alright, let's touch base and see what's going on. Right, okay, cool. So we got one player here. Bang, bang, bang. Elf arm. Okay, we don't need that. Where are you, KB? Yes, where did KB go? Unless they went, like, to the mines or something. Okay, so we are in games. So guys, I guess you kind of want an update on some of the things that have been going on. So I kind of gave you a hint. It's been really busy lately, so doing a lot of work trying to build up a little bit of bank, because here in Ontario, Canada, the cool thing is if you are a parent, you qualify for EI. What that means is you get employment insurance after you have a child. Now, the thing about EI that people don't realize is it's much different than what the Ministry of Labor, which is the governing body that outlines what the rules of work are, say you can take off after you have a child. So most people think in Canada that after you have a child, you're entitled to take 12 months of time off after you have a child, and you will get 12 months of EI, or the option of 18 months prorated over, 18 months prorated from 12. So you'll never get more money, but you will get, there we go, get it out of there. You will get the same amount of money, kind of dished out over a longer period of time, which does work out well for some people. Now, yes. What's up? Out and join, please. We're gonna do Ruin and EP drops. Join. Okay. Need new host. Okay, so we're all getting the boot. Fair enough. So anyways, what the Ministry of Labor says actually is that you're entitled to the pregnant person is entitled to 17 weeks of pregnancy leave, so 17 weeks before they have a child, and then 63 weeks of parental leave afterwards, all unpaid. If you qualify for EI, that's up to you. The co-parent is also entitled up to 63 weeks of unpaid leave. Okay. And join. Okay, no problem. Let's just get out of here and rejoin. So after August, I will be taking 63 weeks of unpaid leave, which is great, which means I'll kind of be left to my own devices to figure out what I'm going to do for cash. And I do not mind that at all. Oh, what do we get for a message? Okay. So I'm just kind of building up a bit of a slush fund until that happens. Okay, simple mail, receive mail. Join. Okay. Organize team. Join team. Boom. All right. So let's rejoin. Is this the one we're joining? So yeah, anyways, the long and short of it is I've just been kind of putting in some extra time just to kind of build up a bit of a buffer zone, so that way when I am off work, I can kind of figure out ways to make some money on the side, but also not be totally crippled in poverty for that period of time while my partner goes back to work. That's a little bit fun. That's just kind of what's been happening. My work, on the other hand, is keeping me quite busy. There's a lot going on right now. There's been a couple cuts that have really affected some of the work that I do. The provincial government of Ontario has decided to cut a number of different funding resources that are very important to some of the work that I do, including if you're not familiar with it, we have something called an OPS, which is an overdose prevention site. A couple of them here in Toronto, Ontario, Canada, and unfortunately the provincial government has decided that they are no longer going to fund those. So a few of my colleagues are now out of work, which is very disappointing. It also means that some of the other resources that I support are going to be underfunded or not funded at all. Could be kind of bad news for some folks as well. Those programs actually help out quite a bit. They do quite a bit of good work for some people that are living with substance use, and they're quite effective. They're quite valuable. But unfortunately, our provincial government doesn't that. So that is a big thing right now. Although the local integrated health network here in Ontario, Canada, was sort of the central body for giving out money for different kind of non-profit programs, has decided that they are going to disband. I don't know if they were voluntold to disband or if they've decided to do it on their own accord. I suspect that it's probably the latter. But that also means it's going to complicate quite a bit of different funding programs that I'm involved with, and that is quite disappointing. So that's one of the things that's been keeping me busy and that I've been working with as of late. Again, if you're not really interested in that stuff, I apologize, but I figured I'd give you a bit of a detailed update on some of the stuff that I have been working with. On the gaming side, I have been having a little bit of luck out in the wild finding stuff. I actually have a copy, I'm very excited, of a game that I've been very interested in for quite some time, and that game is... Okay, you're gonna stand there, so are we gonna have... Okay, cool, so we got somebody standing over there. Awesome. Bang, 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 stand on there, and boom, we're good. Okay, let's get in here. For the Atari Lynx, so I've been telling you guys lately that I've been getting into the Atari Lynx. I still have been, actually. It's a very, very fun system. A lot of very good arcade ports of games. Some interesting original titles. Not all of them are great, but they're all very, very well made. So far, I haven't found like any duds. Nothing that I wouldn't play. And the good thing is they're games I don't have to invest a lot of time in. So, that being said, there was a game announced a few months ago that really piqued my interest. I'm a big fan of dungeon crawlers. I'm a big fan of RPGs. The Lynx has no onboard memory. The carts have no ability to save because they do not have a save battery, and flash memory, I don't believe, was available during the time of its release. So, you basically have games that you can pick up and play, but you can't save or have restore points or anything like that. You just play until you're finished, which is great. It kind of preserves the arcade experience, which is fine by me. But a game called Wyvern Tales is the first RPG to be released for the Atari Lynx. It is in high demand. It's actually not too expensive. The guy who made it kind of designed it like a bit of a, it's a bit of a Final Fantasy clone, but that is alright by me. It looks pretty good. It's had very good reviews. And you can save in it, of course, which is also pretty essential to playing a RPG. You don't want to play it from start to finish in one sitting, that's for sure. And it looks really good. I'm very excited about it. So they opened orders last week. I put my order in immediately, and it is on its way. So hopefully I'll be getting that very shortly. I'm very interested to start playing that. Also, I've run into a couple of, I don't know what it is, but people seem to really be offloaded Game Boys. In the last 4 months, I think I've found 5 different types of Game Boys, including a really interesting, or sorry, I should say really interesting. It's not that interesting at all, really, but a really nice condition Game Boy Pocket Silver. I already have one, but this one was in much better shape. So I bought that, and I've been playing a lot of Link's Awakening for the Game Boy. I actually have the Game Boy DX version. So in case you're not familiar, Game Boy DX games were the ones in the black cartridge. They are color games as well as black and white. So if you're playing on a normal black Game Boy, they will just appear in your standard black and white. If you're going to play on a Game Boy Color, or if you're going to play on, let's say, a Game Boy Advance or Game Boy Advance SP, they will appear in color. It looks really sharp on a Game Boy Advance SP, especially if you have the AGS 101 model. I have a couple of those. I always hold on to them when I get them. I did sell a couple in the past and I've regretted it, but I have 2 right now, which is perfect. I don't think I need any more. I put new shells on one and I kept the original on the other. Even though I think I'll probably get rid of the other one and the other shell because it's in really poor condition. Basically, the shells aren't important. It's the stickers that you have on the old shells you want to preserve. You don't want to have a repo sticker on your Game Boy, because that's when it really stands out as being a reproduction. That's when it can kind of lose some of its value. But if you can peel off the original sticker and just transplant it onto a modern shell, people are probably not going to notice the difference, and I think it really preserves the integrity of the system. Definitely makes it feel more original. And some of those third-party cases, they're pretty cheap, you know, $10 to $15, and they look really, really good. Quite impressed with them. So yeah, I've been playing a lot of that. I've gotten, I don't know how far I've gotten, but I feel like I've got quite far. Probably only completed, what, the 3rd dungeon at this point. It's a very complicated game, much more complicated than I thought it would be. I guess I shouldn't have expected any less. For me, Legend of Zelda games have always been notorious for, I don't know if notorious is the right word. They're the puzzle element of them. They can be a little bit confusing at times. You've definitely got to read everything the NPCs say. You've got to remember what they say. You've got to remember who to go back to. There's a lot of doubling back in those games, and for better or worse. I mean, if you're a person like me who has a fairly very poor memory at times, you might find those games a little bit, oh man, this slowdown is harsh. Keeping in mind, this is with a huge USB GD-ROM and a Ethernet connection, and you're still getting that amount of lag. Yeah, so if your memory is like mine and just absolutely terrible, you're gonna find yourself relying on things like walkthroughs quite a bit, and that's kind of where I was at. I had to go to some walkthroughs and find out what I was doing next, and quite frankly, I just don't have the time to sit there and grind out games the way I used to. So walkthroughs have kind of become my standard. I just want to complete the game. I don't really necessarily need the satisfaction of knowing that I figured out every grind on my own. If I do solve a puzzle on my own, I'm very proud. As proud as you can be finding a puzzle in a video game, but I don't really find the need to find it necessary to search out every corner of a game by yourself. I think that if you need to use a walkthrough, that's quite fine. So I've been playing that on and off in between, still trying to complete Final Fantasy VII on my good old PSP. I used the portable version of Final Fantasy VII, and it's quite good. The resolution when you put it onto the big screen isn't fantastic, but you know, I don't really put it onto my big screen that much. As some of you might know, if you have a few different versions of the PSP, you can actually put it out via component cable to a television, a modern television, and actually it generally looks fairly good. Very few complaints about that. But when you're using one of the PS1 games rendered for the PSP, the resolution is quite low, and because of that, it doesn't look very good on a screen outside of the PSP screen. So that said, I have dedicated myself to finally beating that game. It's been over 20 years. I've had that game since it was released all those many years ago. It was one of the first games that I actually had. Funnily enough, I never had a memory card when I first got it, and I just left my television on the entire time I played it. I didn't complete it. It drove my parents nuts. What can I say? I was poor. I managed to get a PlayStation 1 from a guy that I knew that was actually stealing them from the local sellers. So I think when the PS1 was released, like it was shortly after it was released. I think it was that same Christmas here in Ontario, Canada. I think he sold it to me for about $40 in box. So I was more than happy to get that. My father, I remember looking at me kind of cross-eyed, being like, okay, are you sure about that? Like, you know, you sure this is on the up and up? And I was like, you know, he just had an extra one for Christmas and he wanted to sell it for cheap. Yeah, right. It's water under the bridge. What are you gonna do? What are you gonna do? So yeah, I've been really enjoying that game as well. I've also picked up a couple of different titles for my 3DS, which I'm hoping to get into sooner than later. I think after I grind out Legend of Zelda and I play Wyvern Tale, I'll pick up another 3DS game. The last game that I played and I really enjoyed was Samus Returns. I beat that game, and you know, it was a lot of fun. I was really impressed with that game, actually. The next game that I have that I really want to play is I have a copy of the Radiant Historia Complete Chronology for 3DS. So I'm really excited to play that for the first time. I never played the original on the DS, but I've heard some very good things. And while we're looking at this stuff, maybe I'll just show you right here a couple of DS games that I got. Actually, I'll just show you this whole pile. So I ended up getting a repo copy of Alien vs. Predator for the Atari Lynx. You know, there's a couple of guys that sell them. It's a very good port of an unfinished game. But I ended up picking up these as well. I got Ever Oasis from good old GameStop, and Mario and Luigi's Dream Team from good old GameStop as well. Speaking of which, it seems as though the nail in the coffin of GameStop is finally being struck. I was watching a couple of reports today on how they're not even releasing their earnings reports anymore, which is really bad news. For the last couple of months, actually probably the last couple of years, unbeknownst to a lot of the investors, GameStop has been in a lot of trouble, and I think that's for a multitude of reasons. I don't follow it as closely as some other people do, but it would appear to me as though the majority of their issues are focused around bad management, of course, but there's an ever-changing climate in gaming as well. As most of you know, it's going toward online is kind of online, and digital downloads are becoming the standardization for gaming. Hard copies are now sort of a novelty. They'll release it on a physical cart or a physical disc, but the reality is that it was never designed for that, and more than likely, unless they release a game well after its release, where it's been fine-tuned and everything like that, you are going to get an incomplete copy on your cartridge. You are going to need to download updates to make it playable, to make it usable, to make it more up-to-date with whatever platform that you're playing with. And the unfortunate part of that is if services go down, if servers go down, you are going to be in rough shape. You are not going to be able to update your game. You are going to be holding on to a cart that is unfinished and will probably not have any way of updating. But that said, the community has also been getting really good recently at preserving updates. I'd say the best example of that is probably the Wii. Now, as many of you know, the Wii shop went down officially, I believe, like 2 months ago. We had 1 month or 2 months to download all of our Wii Shop titles from the Wii Shop before the service was being discontinued forever. Now, I never had a Wii back in the day. I only got one last year. I modded it, and it's a fantastic system. It looks amazing with the Hyperkin HDMI cable, and coupled through a what is the gaming? Why is it slipping my mind? It is the M cable gaming edition HDMI cable. It looks fantastic. I can't say enough about how sharp it looks, how crisp the colors look. Again, probably stuff that you already know. I don't have to tell you, but you can play GameCube games natively. Also, you can play them off a hard drive if you have it hooked up properly, which is generally what I do. I have no interest in collecting for the GameCube at the moment. But there are a lot of fun games. I really enjoy F-Zero on the GameCube. I'd like to get into some of the RPGs, but I doubt that I will have time. Also, the Wii has some fantastic, like just playing Super Mario, what is it called there? Super Mario on the Wii. What is it? It's not Super Mario World. What is it? Super Mario not Super Mario Universe. I can't even remember the title of the game. Sorry, I'm having a bit of a mind meltdown. But, you know, the standard Super Mario title on Super Mario Galaxy. Jeez, there we go. Playing Super Mario Galaxy on the Wii is fantastic. You know, it's one of the first games to come out for the system, and I was really enjoying that until I just kind of put it down, and it was like, well, you know, I've kind of had enough. I see where it's going. I did find the game a bit repetitive at times. Really not a whole lot of places to go in it, unfortunately. Like, you kind of do one level, and they all sort of feel a bit the same after a while. I'm sure there's more diversity in it if I was to give it more of a chance, but you know, I played enough. I had a good time. I would really like to play maybe Xenoblade Chronicles at some point, but you know, that's a big RPG that I doubt I'll ever have time for. I did fire it up. It looks beautiful. It's another one of those games that just really maxes out the power of the Wii, and you know, you can play it however you wish. It is a hard title to come by, but I'm just playing it on the USB loader through Homebrew on my Wii. What else? Sorry. Where am I going here? Where are these guys going? Okay, they're going this way. Perfect. Where was I going with this? Going on and on about the Wii. Yes, so Super Mario Galaxy, great game. Everything looks pretty sharp. Everything looks good. I have no desire to collect for that system, much like the TurboGrafx 16 that I showed you a few months back, that I ended up getting for an extremely cheap price. I just ended up getting a Turbo EverDrive. I've just been playing solely off the Turbo EverDrive, all of the games, PC Engine games, the TurboGrafx 16 games, a couple of the homebrews that I could find to download. I will not collect for that system. That is not a system that I plan to get into. But that does lead me to one of the biggest thrifting grievances that I have. Now, I've been having actually a lot of good luck out there in the wild thrifting, but I am out there quite a bit, just given my kind of lifestyle and employment opportunities. I'm able to go to thrift stores semi-regularly and go at times where things are, you know, you can get things kind of new, like, I guess, kind of like when they're fresh. Oftentimes, there's these people that I only refer to as day pickers. They stay there all day long. They pick right off the trolleys. You don't really even get an opportunity to see what is available. So if you're there at the right time, like generally I find at Value Village, if you get there in the morning, you'll generally have good luck. If you get there early afternoon, you'll have good luck when they start bringing stuff fresh out. And generally around 4 p.m. when they do their last load, if you're around at that time, you can have some good luck as well. But any other time, you're just kind of sitting there waiting for the new product to come out. Some stuff might slip through, you know, if you're, particularly with me, like generally if I'm buying something that I can flip, it's something that I don't have any interest in. Like, let's see, a TI-84 graphic calculator. If I can find one of those that's in good shape and works, I'll pick those up because I know that I can sell it for about 60 bucks online, and I generally buy it for $3. So that gives me a little bit of money in the PayPal kitty, which is kind of nice. But also, it's not a huge investment, and it's almost guaranteed to sell, and you know, nobody really cares. But it really pisses me off when I'm interested in something and I see one of these day pickers who's just there to resell. They're just resellers. They're there every day. It's generally these like older, just really, I don't know how to describe them. They're probably not as gross as I think they are, but because I hate them so much, I just consider them gross. But they sit there all day long from start to finish, and they must, because, you know, like I dip in and out of these places at different times and they're always there. And they just get like whatever they can find. They just grab piles of stuff, throw it in a cart, and just sit there on their cell phones all day, pricing stuff up on eBay and seeing what they get. So they grab all of the good music equipment, and video games, and things like that primarily. Sometimes things slip through the cracks. Sometimes you can get some good stereo stuff, but even now I'm finding it increasingly difficult to find good stereo stuff. Like, people are on that as well. Good receivers and good speakers. You know, I'm always on the hunt for different mission speakers and things like that. different brands that I know like just release really high quality speakers. Like I haven't really found any decent three-way ones from the 70s and 80s yet, but I have been keeping my eye open. So anyways, where I was getting at with this is I was in a Salvation Army thrift store, and I walk in, and there's this older guy. I know his name is Lewis because I see him sell shit on my local Facebook groups that I see him buy the previous day. And he is one of those terrible fucking, sorry to swear, but terrible, just disgusting resellers who doesn't know what he's buying. Like, I don't care. There's one guy that I see that I know is really into records, really into music. I don't know his name, but if I see him, I chit chat with him. Like, he'll be through the record section, he'll be through the what's it called there, the electrical section, looking at different AV equipment and stuff like that, and he just talks about music, but he doesn't talk about flipping it. If he flips it, great, I don't care, but at least he's into it, you know. He doesn't just grab shit and just puts it in his cart, price it up, and see how much he can sell it for. Like, I was in one thrift store the other day, and this guy had a bunch of Marantz. He had a Marantz tuner and receiver. It was like a 730B, and that's like an 80s model that isn't that great, but regardless, it's a Marantz. So I looked at it, I was like, oh, hey, nice Marantz. And he just looks at me, he says, this is worth money, right? You gotta be kidding me. You don't even know what you're buying. You're just buying stuff because you think you can get money for it. It's disgusting. So there's this one guy named Lewis. He's an older fella. He has annoyed me in the past when he picked up a sampler that I knew what it was right away. I have a couple of different versions of the same sampler. And he just bought it, and he's got it in his cart, and I'm like, oh, that's kind of cool. He's like, yeah, do you think it's worth anything? It's like, you son of a bitch. I don't even really want to give you the time of day right now. And then he bought it for 30 bucks, and I saw him post it online for 300. And who knows? He might have got it, he might not. That's none of my business. But this really bugged me for a while. Like, I must have looked like a crazy person walking up and down the street, because I was like literally swearing to myself up and down the street after this happened. So I walk into a Salvation Army thrift store, go through, not thinking much, and on a table I see this box, and I look at it, I'm like, what the fuck? What is that? I look at it, and I get a closer look. It's a TurboGrafx Core Duo. It's got 4 controllers. It's got the 4-controller expansion piece. It has a couple of other peripherals I didn't even get a chance to really look at. It's sitting there, and I go to walk towards it, and then I look, and there's a guy that's kind of standing beside it with his cell phone, and it's this Lewis guy. He looks at me and grabs the box. He pulls it close, and I'm like, son of a gun. And it's got this little pink case beside it, too. It's like yay long. I'm like, I don't even want to know what's in it. It's probably games, which who knows what kind of games could be in there, right? So I was furious. I saw he had it. I was like, oh my god, I know this guy's not a gamer. He's way too, you can just tell he's not a gamer. I will prognosticate that he's not a gamer. I was grasping at straws at that point. I knew what it was right away. I knew I wanted it. It would find a good home with me. So I'm like, hey, if you're just planning on flipping that, I'll buy that off you right now. And he looks at me and he's just like, no. That's it. Just, no. Okay. And then he feels the need to come up to me later. He's like, this is valuable, isn't it? I was like, I don't know. I just like the game, and I'll buy that off you because I'm really interested in it. He's like, no. Okay. So he walks away, and I'm like, kicking myself. I'm like, you son of a gun. Like, I knew what it was. I didn't even look at the price tag. If I saw the price tag, I would have probably just been furious. But it's Salvation Army, so let's say 40 to 50 bucks without tax. They don't generally go more expensive than that. The thing about the TurboGrafx Core Duo is that, you know, when you're just like kind of a regular schlub pricing up these games, you look for things like Nintendo and Atari and Sega and stuff like that, but you don't really think about TurboGrafx. Like, that system is a great system, but it doesn't have that visual appeal to people that aren't into that system to recognize it right away, which is probably why I got my box system for so cheap. So I'm huffing and puffing. I'm like, I want that so bad, right? Like, it's probably cheap. Like, this guy doesn't deserve it. He's probably just going to flip it because all he asked about was, like, how much he thinks it's worth. So I was furious. Go home, like, okay, don't let this get to you, because I've talked in previous streams how I try not to let this stuff get to me, because you know what? In the end, it's just stuff. I don't care. I've got a wonderful family. I've got a wonderful job. My life is fine. I'm not one of these garbage resellers that sits in a thrift store all day, and this is their family, right? Cut to next day. I'm in a Value Village. I'm walking along. I get a tap on the shoulder. It's this Lewis guy. He looks at me. He says, "You know that thing you wanted to buy?" I said, "Yeah, I know. I love that system." He's like, "That's worth money, eh?" Like, probably. I don't know. I don't sell this stuff. I just wanted to play it. He looks at me and he goes, "One of those games was $1,000. You son of a bitch." So then he starts throwing me pictures on his phone. So what's he show? He shows a picture of... I didn't even look at all the titles because I was just so furious. He shows a picture of what appeared to be... Okay, I think we can go now. I would say 12 rows wide, maybe 10 rows deep of hue cards. I looked at a couple titles and I was like, they're good titles. It was like Bonk's Adventure and stuff like that. You know, you can get a couple bucks for those, right? But like, he told me one was worth $1,000. I'm like, oh my god, like, okay, you got like a magical chase or something like that. I don't even want to know. I didn't ask at that point. I looked at the phone quick and I saw how many hue cards were there. And I was so livid that this person who doesn't deserve this stuff grabbed it with the sole purpose of reselling, and then wanted to flash it in my face about how much he could resell it for. It was so frustrating. So I take the higher road with this stuff again. The mantra is I got good stuff going on. I'm not going to get bent out of shape about things I never had, especially material things like this, right? But the gall to come up to me and tap me on the shoulder and brag about how much stuff is worth when I don't even know you. Coupled with, I'm like, well, if you're just planning on selling it, would you mind selling it to me? To which he looked at me and responded, no. Why is this person talking to me at this point? Just to brag about how he's going to resell something for thousands of dollars possibly, and he doesn't even want to sell it to me. This guy is a real piece of work. I don't know how else to describe it. I really dislike this guy. But I think he thinks we're friends or something. Like, he sees me out in the community and he'll wave and say hi. I'm like, I don't even like you. Like, I kind of hate you, actually. Like, why are you engaging with me? Like, I've tried to be civil. Like, twice now you've come across things that I'm interested in, and I'm very well aware that you're just planning on reselling, and I've asked to maybe purchase from you, and both times you've denied me. Like, what is the extent of our relationship exactly? So, anyways, I let it slide. I didn't try to focus on it too much. It just reminded me that stuff is out there, guys. It's just whether or not you get it. And unfortunately, in my experience lately, it's been getting tougher and tougher to just find an opportunity to get this kind of stuff. I'll preach about it again. Like, back in the day, like, I got the majority of my gaming collection stuff when nobody gave a shit about this. Like, nobody cared about Nintendo. I was getting games for $1.50 at thrift stores. I got a lot of stuff back then. Unfortunately, I did sell some things before maybe the market was great, but it was still better than what I paid. But it was stuff that later on I was like, maybe I should have held on to. Like, I did have some TurboGrafx stuff that I originally sold, and I sold it because TurboGrafx was getting a little bit hot, and I was kind of interested more in Nintendo stuff at that time. There was that sort of period, I'd say, around 2008, 2009, when the angry video game nerd was starting to come around, and people were very familiar with that show. And people were just grabbing Nintendo stuff left and right, regardless of the fact that it was any good. Even I'd say the rarest stuff that you can get for Nintendo is kind of like not that great, and that's pretty well known. That's not me talking out of school. Like, a lot of people that know about Nintendo are very well aware that the more expensive games are not expensive because they're good, but more expensive because they're rare. And the reality came into, like, I'll never have a complete set, at least not a complete set in my mind. There's no possible way. So what's the point of collecting for this system? All of the really obscure titles that I'll never play, that I'm just collecting for collection's sake. So I am kind of in the process of purging some of that stuff. Some of it I will keep. Some of it you can't really even emulate, like my Action 52 cart. Like, you can't really do much with that. It is what it is. I paid, I think, $3.99 for that particular cart quite a few years ago. So, you know, it's no money lost for me. I didn't spend the 300 Canadian or whatever it's going for nowadays. But regardless, like, I've had quite a few systems in the past. I picked them up for pretty cheap when you can get them cheap at yard sales, and you know, the competition wasn't so fierce. You didn't have these just horrible day pickers. I see them all the time. I know who they are. I am investigating possibly getting a pair of sunglasses, HD sunglass camera setup. You know, kind of like I saw, what's his name there, LGR do it. Shout out to LGR. He actually tagged me in a couple of videos recently that he put up because of some comments that I made. So I was kind of happy that I really like that guy's stuff. He's got some really interesting things out there. But yeah, like, I mean, he was showing off these glasses that you can put on that had an HD camera, and you put them on when you're thrifting, and you can kind of just walk around and look at stuff, and it'll record whatever you're seeing effectively, like kind of more or less in the same, you know, it's got a pretty decent field of view and everything like that, and can capture quite a bit. So I was thinking about getting that, but not necessarily for thrift store fun, but just document some of these horrible human beings that I come across in the thrift store world. Like, I mean, who knows? They could be okay people, but they're competition for me. They get things that I want, and I don't even know what I'm looking for when I walk into those places. It's all just sort of, you know, luck of the draw, right? I try not to go in with any expectations, and if I come across something great, fine, but if I don't, I'm not going to focus about it too much. But yeah, I thought it might be interesting, especially for some people that might be in the Toronto area that kind of do some thrifting like I do, and might be interested to see who's out there and who's going to give you the most, who to look out for, basically. There's about 10 guys, and you know, I've given them all names, but they probably have their own identities that I'll never know. Yeah, actually, there's, I think it was yesterday, maybe it was 2 days ago, I can't recall. And I was at a Value Village, and it was probably one of the more rougher times I've been to a Value Village in terms of seeing the aggressiveness of these day guys. Like, they actually had one point where they must have somehow decided to, I don't know if team up is the right word, but they basically blocked a trolley cart coming out. Two guys blocked it while two other guys picked stuff off, and they kind of acted like, I don't know, bouncers maybe, while people sort of picked through what they wanted, and they just kind of traded off like that. Like, okay, you get first dibs and then we'll get second dibs. Really sad stuff. Like, clearly, like, that business has no interest in stopping that, and I don't know, I guess it really doesn't matter. All they want to do is make some money at the end of the day. But it does kind of suck the fun out of the hobby of thrifting, because the hobby of thrifting is the peripheral hobby to the initial hobby, which is things like video games and music and movies. And that's the stuff I enjoy, but to get to it, I have to go through the secondary hobby, which is the thrill of the hunt. And you know, thrifting can be a hobby on its own. The problem with it, I always find, is that sometimes people get too into the money aspect, like they just want to see what they can flip and resell, which is kind of what I was alluding to before. But on top of that, they also really okay, let's change the right screen here. They enter these places like Value Village and Salvation Army and everything, and I guess the idea is if you walk away empty-handed, you've lost. So I see some people, like, they just buy anything they can find. And I mean, all the power to them. I hope they go broke and they just never come back. But it can be quite addictive sometimes, like that thrill of the find, where you find that one thing that, especially if you're somebody that's finding something that you just want to flip for a couple extra bucks. If you're that person that finds it, it can be quite exciting. And oftentimes I don't think that people find enough things consistently at high value to really make it worth their time. Like, I think they're probably losing money in the end. You might find that one really amazing item that you didn't expect to find, and Okay, where am I going here? And you might even, you might get a couple $100 for it. But at what cost? Like, how much money did you invest to get that? Like, how many things did you find that are on like your death pile to resell? Like, I've got an eBay death pile that I go through once in a while. A lot of gaming stuff. Like, for instance, I sold a box like for $100 of just random gaming stuff, some controllers I didn't need, all that kind of stuff, and I just wanted to get it out of my house. I just didn't need it. But it was also stuff that I couldn't sell online, like little LCD handheld games that I'd pick up just because I thought they were kind of neat, but ultimately didn't really need. BRB, going to get Tri-Mates. Okay, where is everybody? Item pack. Item. Telepipe. Use. And let's go. But yeah, I find some people, like, I can tell, like, they're the new blood people that I've never seen before. They enter in, they're very desperate to find things, and they just grab a bunch of crap, and they're like those people that throw them in their cart, except they don't even really look to reflect prices on stuff they don't know about. They just go and they buy it, and I guess the idea is that they just hope for the best, that it's worth something. It's really difficult for me to feel empathy for those people. Like I said, like, I mean, we're all kind of in a bit of competition. I do not have any like thrift store buddies, except for maybe that one person I was describing who I know is really just into music. Oh, that's too bad. That person has to leave. But yeah, I found the competitiveness of it recently kind of sucking the fun out of it all, and probably for the better, deterring me from it. Lately, I've just been finding that I've been acquiring so many things like game systems and video games and things like that nature. Like the amount of options that I have to keep myself entertained are so immense that I just don't end up doing a whole lot of anything afterwards. If you know what I mean, like, you know, when you got that sort of paralyzed by choice, you just don't really know what to do once you have all of these things present. So, you know, like I'll spend like half an hour sorting through stuff and be like, okay, do I want to spend my time doing this? And then I'll maybe put something in that I'm familiar with for 10 minutes and then just sort of move on. So I think a lot of people are like that, though. Like, I mean, I'm not unique in any regard when it comes to that kind of stuff. I think it's the nature of the beast. You start collecting a lot of things over time, and there becomes a point, I think, when some people start collecting. Like, I've seen it. You too. Good night. Oh my goodness. Where they just have too much stuff. Oh, where'd everybody go? Where did everyone go? Item pack, area map. Oh, there they are over there. 6 more days and we can start what? Okay, here they are over here. All right, right on. Back on track. Boom, boom, boom. Okay, how much more do I have? Oh, man, I actually don't have that much more to a next level up. That's actually pretty cool. Okay, am I hitting for anything or am I just... Yes, I am. Okay, cool. Oh, that's right. I went back to Pioneer 2. That's why my Photon Blast is all low. Boom, boom, boom. Oh no! Okay, I better heal up sooner than later. Let's launch that, see if that helps at all. Okay, KB is calling it quits for the night. Boom, boom. Okay, I just want to take this guy out so he'll leave me alone. Let's see if we can launch a confusion trap. That helps. Boom and boom. Okay, good enough. So, while we're talking about thrifting and all of my... Oh, come on. No way. Okay, sweet. Motherfucker. Don't take my cash. Don't take my cash. Okay. Actually... What's my Heaven Punisher looking like? We're at... Okay, we can't even use it just quite yet. So let's go back here. Pop, 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 and heal up. Okay, where is that motherfucker? Boom, boom, boom. There we go. Boom, boom. Okay, he's disappearing. Yeah, so the one thing I've also been noticing a lot lately too is that some of the channels that I've belonged to in the past, particularly gaming channels, like everybody's getting a little bit older, a little bit longer in the tooth, which is absolutely fine. It's just the nature of the beast. We're not all these young, spry kids anymore. But perhaps it's my own bias just thinking about folks with families and some of the things that they're talking about, and like I don't have a lot of time because I'm working, and I know some of these people on YouTube also consider YouTube their full-time job, which I guess it is what it is. But I think, you know, when you say you have to invest 8 hours a day in things like streaming and then play games outside of that in order to review them or whatever that is, I just feel as though maybe these people are not as present as parents as, I don't know, as maybe they should be. And again, that might be my own bias. Like, I'm also one of these people that I don't do screen time. I don't encourage young kids, like anybody under 5, to start off playing this kind of stuff because your brain's still kind of figuring itself out. And if you hardwire it to get that nice dopamine hit from playing a good video game, you're going to start to seek that out. And it's not good wiring. It's why when you see kids that are like 3 years old and they're on a tablet and they take it away for 5 seconds, they freak the heck out. It's just because they're getting a bit of a fix. It's that quick fix that we all know about. You know, you hear little bells, something vibrates, you know, you get some flashy screens and stuff like that. You feel like you've accomplished something. And the issue is that, like, we as adults, we know what that is, and some of us are able to separate ourselves from that quick artificial satisfaction. You know, get it for what it is. Like, if you find a unique item in this game, it's interesting for the time you're playing game, but you know, you don't obsess about it, or at least I don't think about the next time I can play this game to find the next unique rare item or crafting material or anything like that. But yeah, I feel as though some of these folks that I've been watching recently, they probably spend maybe a bit too much time doing this stuff. And what got me thinking about that was a couple of these videos that you've seen recently where people have behaved very poorly in stream because they've been trying to balance maybe a much more important family life with things like streaming. And I don't know, it's just this... I think when you do this kind of stuff all the time, it really sucks the fun out of it. Like, I enjoy this kind of stuff as a hobby. I enjoy this kind of stuff very intermittently, but it's nothing that I really want to do all of the time. And it's not for lack of trying, it's just that I enjoy it as a treat. It's like anything else. As soon as you start doing it full time, it starts to become a job, and you cannot... Oh shoot, oh damn. Oh no, okay. Come on, let's get back to the game. Okay, worse. There we go, brought him back. Cool. Oh, I hope I didn't pick up this key. Weapon or anything. No, I didn't. Cool. But again, that's just like a little side thought grievance. I'm probably way off the mark. I'm probably totally wrong. People are probably fine and spend more time with their family than I do at this point. But maybe it's because when I'm at one of my other jobs, I always kind of have YouTube playing in the background, and I feel like I get a little bit more comfortable with these people than I actually am, and reading between the lines on different things that are going on that are probably less. My opinion is probably not that educated. Too educated to lead a stream, right? Because I don't really feel like I articulated myself that well in that thought, but that's fine. It is what it is. It's part of the public record now. But a big part of thrifting also is doing that resell. You know, you find that one item you don't want and you trade it, or you sell it for something that you do want. And as much as I hate resellers, it's part of the game, and I guess I do it to some extent as well. But at least I kind of know the stuff that I'm getting before I try to flip it out. Like, I feel like I'm not ignorant to my items. So PayPal and eBay, they are two, here we go, two essential resources to selling online in the global economy. I'm not going to explain eBay to you. You all know what it is, and PayPal as well. But they are an incredibly broken system. Basically, as a seller, you are completely powerless no matter what you try to do to abide by their policies. They have increased their fees exponentially over the last couple of years, to the point where it's just really not even worth selling, between both of them nickel and diming you for everything. Paying for insertion fees, paying for final value fees, paying to have your money handled, all of this kind of stuff. And then as soon as you actually make a little bit of money, there's somebody that decides to rip you off, and then you're right back to where you started. It's not worth the time. You know, like, that's another thing too, time. It's like, if you sell a DVD for 15 bucks and you gotta charge $4.99 for shipping, letter mail, and then what you end up doing is, you pay the fees on that. You might get 12 bucks after all said and done from that 15. It's going to cost you $13 or $3 to ship. It's going to cost, yes, it's going to cost. So your profit margin is so slim, and then how much time is that taking you to actually get that? Plus with the initial product that you paid for, taking that into account. So you know, after all said and done, you're making like what, $2 or $3? It's really not worth it unless you get one of those bigger, high ticketed items. So, kind of the problem that I've been having with them recently is the amount of buyers scamming you. Like, I'll enter in, I take videos of items that I sell for quite a bit of money, of me packing them. I put little security tags on them and stuff like that to make sure that if it's been opened, there's proof that it's been opened. Shoot the video of me wrapping something completely encased in whatever I've wrapped it in, so that you can't mistake the package for what it is. Add tracking, add signature, add whatever. Somebody gets it, and then they file a claim with eBay, and they say, hey, like, this item wasn't as described, I want my money back. And you're like, for Christ's sake, you gotta be kidding me. It's exactly what it is. You basically have no, like, you cannot fight back when that happens either. That's the big problem, is that you're completely powerless to do anything. You are at the mercy of eBay and their investigative system of what they do whenever a buyer files a claim of not as described. And more often than not, you're going to lose, unless you can get the buyer talking, like, keep them going about the item, and see if you can get them to say something like, maybe they manipulated the item, maybe they broke it, maybe they did something to change it, so if they were to return it, like, it's not going to be the same item when it is returned. And then sometimes by the grace of God, eBay will side in your favor, but more often than not, they don't. They always side with the buyer, and it's quite annoying, because as a seller, as somebody who sells quite frequently on eBay, like, I'm always downsizing my life, it's very frustrating to sell something to somebody, spend all the time it takes to source it and sell it, pay the fees and do what you got to do and make sure it arrives on time and appropriately and in one piece, just to have not only the money removed from your account, but also have the fees not reimbursed, also have the cost of shipping not reimbursed, because there's the cost of shipping that you charge that goes back to the seller, or the buyer rather, but there's also the cost of shipping that costs you. So if you're charging $50 to the buyer to ship, you still have to pay that $50. Like, it's not cash in the bank. That's how much it costs to ship. So you're out that money. Plus, it's just like the time and the product and all that kind of stuff. It's incredibly frustrating. So more than likely, if you've been selling on eBay for any length of time, you've experienced that to some degree. But this is the first time this has happened. I've never had somebody do a buyer chargeback via PayPal. So I had that lovely experience recently. So the way PayPal works is that you have a few different ways that you can conduct a transaction on PayPal. You can... Okay, am I going to survive? You can do one of two things. You can sell things, goods and services, where there is some seller, some buyer protection. You can also sell things, or sort of transfer money rather, via friends and family, which is what most people prefer when they're doing things like on Facebook Marketplace or something like that. Like, to do friends and family, because the PayPal policy is you can't really take money back at that point via PayPal if you do friends and family. It's one and done. You take the money and that's it. But if you pay through your goods and services, you have up to 180 days to file a claim with PayPal via your financial institution to get a chargeback. So what that means is you contact your bank and you say, I did not authorize this transaction, and they will contact PayPal and they will take the money out of your account. So this happened to me. I sold a piece of software in October of 2018. The end of February 2019, I get an email saying that this person has filed a claim with PayPal stating that they did not authorize the transaction and want their money back. I said, well, this is absolutely ridiculous. So I call up PayPal. The other thing you have to know too is if you Google PayPal's customer service number, the first number that comes up is not PayPal. It's actually a phishing company, and they will take your money. So you got to call the second number, the 1-800 number, or the number through the app if you have access to that. So what happened to me was this buyer bought this software. I know they received it. I didn't have shipping because I sold the item and shipped it via regular letter post. They more than likely received it. They're actually in Toronto, like the same city that I live in. They bought it from Toronto. They live in Toronto, and they still decided, like, I have this person's address. Like, they live not too far from where I am, actually. It's about a 20-minute drive if I was so crazy to want to follow up on that for, you know, a $30 purchase. But here's the real kicker. Here's what bothers me the most. Oh no. Fuck. God damn it. PayPal not only takes the money out of your account, but they also will charge you an additional $20 for a chargeback fee. So the $30 plus $40. So I lost $50 on that. I called them up just livid. They say it's part of our policy. If a buyer files a chargeback, you're on the hook for the chargeback fee, which is insane. That should never be your responsibility to be on the hook for a chargeback fee that a buyer has filed. That should all be on the buyer. It should be absorbed right into PayPal's. No! Oh no. No. I died right when... Oh, you gotta be kidding me. I died right when we beat the thing. Ah, falls. You will be the death of me. And yeah, there's really nothing you can do at that point. Shit. But... Man, that sucks. Okay, well, maybe we'll get an item that's worth keeping. Damn, can't believe I lost all that XP. Oh well, it is what it is, I suppose. At least it didn't lose too much XP this round, and I got a couple extra bucks. No real interesting items, which kind of sucks, but you know, again, it is what it is. So yeah, just a little word to the wise, folks. Be very careful when you're selling online. You never know who you're selling to, and also, equally as important, you never know who you're buying from. They could be psycho. Like, you get a lot of personal information when you sell something to somebody, so you know, you might want to try and play it close to the hip. Alright, so we're done here. Let's go back to Pioneer 2 and see what everybody else is saying. That was actually a really fun game. I didn't get the XP I wanted, but at least it was a fun little game. Now what do we have here? So 25,000 away. That's actually not too bad. Pretty happy about that. Okay, let's feed our mag. Dun, 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 dun. Give items. Try mate. There you go, little buddy. Keep him nice and synced up for later. And I think we're going to go to the bank and drop this mag off and chit chat with our friends and see who is in the lobby. Deposit. Item. Yes. Cool. Alright. Good game. Now let's go to the shop, refresh our tri-mates again. Yes, and do they have a... No, they don't. Okay, cool. Alright, let's go to the lobby. Let's see who's hanging out in the lobby. Well, that was too bad. I think I might have got some of the XP. It's hard for me to tell because I think it was at like 35,000 before. Now I'm down to 25,000. So there's a good chance that possibly I got some XP, but I don't think so because I died right when Falls died. Ah, that's so frustrating. Okay. Backslash. Save. 1. Character data saved. Sweet. Okay, cool. Well, let's just wait to see who all comes back in the interim. And I will show you guys a couple of other cool odds and ends of what I got. So here's one thing that I ended up picking up that I did not expect. And it's actually not what I thought it was. I saw this, it was 20 bucks. I figured, hey, why not? We'll pick it up and just see what happens. And it is a boxed Famicom. So, you know, you do win some sometimes. Or in my case, you win some sort of maybe-ish. Now, there's no adapter, which sucks because I haven't been able to test it yet. But on top of that, what was in the box is not actually a Famicom per se, but it is one of the more high-quality Fama clones. So I knew this right away because I saw the controllers. It's got the turbo buttons on it. This is actually a really good Fama clone. Like, it's fantastic, and in some ways I think it's, if I can get it running, probably superior to the original Famicom. It has built-in AV out. If it's compatible with a flash card, I might actually try and get this running and get a flash card, but I do not currently have an adapter for it. It's really well made. I'm very shocked. But yeah, it is actually not a legit Famicom. It is a Fama clone, but nonetheless pretty good for 20 bucks, assuming it works, of course. I've never had a Famicom, but I'm also very excited to have something even close to one. Next, we have these two right here, which I don't necessarily need, but I'm glad that I have. I won these in an online, it was like a Facebook auction. Came with a couple games too, some controllers, but ultimately this is what I really, really wanted. And it is a black Vader Atari 2600. I do not have a Vader. And this right here, which is what I really wanted because this would probably be my main Atari, is a legit heavy sixer Atari. It's in not in the best condition, but still not too bad, but it's a legit heavy sixer. It lives up to its name. It's really thick. It's actually really heavy as well. So I'm pretty happy to have that. I think I'll probably end up actually modding it. I'll probably get a one of those AV mod kits or one of the S-Video mod kits that you see on eBay, and end up seeing what, end up just kind of hooking it up and having it as my main system. Okay, so it looks like maybe everybody's kind of left, or they're in game. So let's just get out of Pioneer, disconnect, yes. And we'll go back to the main game here, or the main menu. And here we are. Okay, guys, well, that's a wrap of that game. So let's shut that down and let's finish talking for the night. So I did get some other items. Let's talk about that. Let's end on a happy note. I think I was doing some griping about thrifting, even though, you know, I understand the nature of the business, and eBay and PayPal are ticking me off, but I did find some cool stuff. So this was kind of unexpected. It is a Rode VideoMic Pro. Got that for $2. It works perfectly. It's a very legit video mic. It's a shotgun mic, so it really isolates the sound well. It generally goes for about $300 still, but I found it for, I don't know why somebody gave it away, but it was only $3.99, so I was pretty happy to find that. This little case here, looked in it, and this was kind of, I only bought it because of what I saw on top of it. So it was at a Value Village. It was actually $9.99, so I picked it up, and it was a game case, and I thought, okay, well, maybe it looks like it's a DS Lite, but it could be a 3DS. So I opened it up, and sure enough, it's this black DS Lite, actually in really good shape, works perfectly, no issues with the black DS Lite. But I saw these carts. So there was Mario World 2, which had a label on it, but there was also these 3 carts that didn't have labels. So here's one of them. It looked like this, and I was like, okay, well, that's probably Pokemon Emerald. And then there was this cart here that had no label on it, and this one right here, which is a forest green one. So I was like, that's probably forest green. So I went on eBay, and for a couple bucks, I found this guy that sold these repro labels. Really good condition, really good quality. See if I can get them in there so it doesn't kind of... There we go. There, you can see it a little bit better now. And yeah, I ended up getting some repro labels for it. I don't plan on selling these, so I'm not really care too much about the value being diminished. I don't know if... Oh, I'm getting a lot of glare there from my mic, or my light there, but maybe you can see it. It's kind of hard. So I got that. So it ended up being Pokemon Leaf Green, Pokemon Emerald, and copy of Pokemon Pearl, which I also put a new label on as well. So some people might be against that. They'll be like, oh, you know, you're taking away the value, but those are just going to be my personal collection, so I don't really care that much. This was on sale on Amazon. There was like a flash sale for $10. I said I couldn't say no, and then it is a copy of the Amazon Trail handheld game, which you know, some people have talked about in other reviews. I'm not going to talk about it too much. You know what it is. It's the Amazon Trail, and it's a really fun handheld game to have. Actually, one of the few handheld games my lady friend will play. I ended up coming across this SteelSeries Bluetooth controller as well. Works really well. I have it hooked up to my Raspberry Pi currently. Even though I do not own an N64, I can't say no to bizarre peripherals, so I found this Ultra Racer 64 out there. I'll probably end up trading this for something else that I like a little bit better. Did find a couple of DVDs and bought a couple that are interesting. So this one here, I see it go for crazy amounts online, so I was like, yeah, might as well get it. And that's a copy of The Battle Wizard, which is a Shaw Brothers film, which is pretty bizarre. This I had to buy just because I love this crappy film series. It's the Poison Ivy Shout Factory Blu-ray collection. All 4 movies on glorious 1080p. I highly suggest watching Poison Ivy 2. It's one of my favorite bad films of all time. This is fantastic. It blows my mind that this exists, but MBD also finally did a collector's edition of Double Dragon. That's right. And it's loaded with special features. The transfer isn't great, but it's 1080p. It's Double Dragon. It's all you're gonna get, folks. A double hitter of Nemesis and Nemesis 2, 3, and 4 on Blu-ray, again from MVD. They're knocking it out of the park. I had to buy these new, just they're movies that I just really wanted to have on hand. These 2 I found. A copy of Deadbeat at Dawn, which if you haven't seen is a great little revenge sort of gang film, and Dr. Giggles, which I hope most of you have seen. It is one of those movies that I kind of grew up on as a kid, and it's pretty bad, but it's a lot of fun, so you can't complain there. finally, in this little pile is some game stuff, because you don't find enough game stuff out there nowadays. A-Train complete with cards, which is always kind of nice to have. Not the best game in the world, but still fun. Copy of Tekken 3, PlayStation 1. Oddworld, Abe's Exodus, PlayStation 1, again complete. And this little pile here, which is really good. So it's Resident Evil 1, 2, and 3 for PlayStation 1. But if you notice there, it's actually the Resident Evil Director's Cut, and that's complete as well. So I'm pretty happy to have that. I didn't have the Director's Cut. I've never played it. So that's about it, guys. It's been really fun. I'm really glad to get out there and play some PSO and see some old faces. I was hoping for a bigger crowd out there in PSO land, but I guess we're gonna have to, you know, accept what we got. It was still pretty fun regardless. Nice to stream, nice to see what else is there. Sorry I didn't really look at the chat that much, guys, but I am glad you guys hung out, and hopefully everybody kind of had fun watching the show, and maybe we can do it a little bit more often. In the meantime, guys, everybody take care, and I will let you know when I'm playing next time. It'll probably be I'm gonna try maybe next week sometime. Again, I'm still trying to get a couple of things balanced out at home, and my work life is a bit crazy right now, but I'm trying to find that balance. It's gonna come. It's not a forever thing, so who knows? Maybe I'll run into a box of money out there, and this won't be an issue. In the meantime, folks, take care, and I will see you later. Take care.